Good evening. I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor, and it's currently just about 7 o'clock, not quite, on Thursday, May 7th. And I want to do today's daily recap of events that affect the way you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. The thought for today is, by the numbers. I'll get to that in just a few minutes. But we start every night with just a recap of what's happening with the COVID cases. Right now, there's over 1,223,000 cases in the U.S. by itself. Deaths right now are over 72,000 in just the last 10 weeks. The death rate is basically 5.9%. The number of people who recovered is roughly just under 200,000. That's about 9% of the total cases. Not really a thrilling number. New Jersey still sitting at the 321 cases, 321,000, and their deaths are still at 25,000, 2,500 actually. So they're doing okay. The cases in New York City haven't really changed that much, still at 175,000 cases. New Jersey again has the highest number, second highest number, at 131.8 thousand cases and 8,500 deaths. And both of these states they've pretty much peaked at this point in time. They've done what they were supposed to do. It was difficult. They're still having a number of deaths, a number of increasing cases, but the rates have really, really dropped down for both of those states, which means there is some promise for the rest of us. Now, each case, each death is without a doubt a personal tragedy to a number of people, especially the individuals and the families that are involved, but also the co-workers and the community that they live in. Now, the last week or two, I wanted to mention the names so we don't lose track of the fact that, all these numbers are interesting. They're cute to report, and we can banter them back and forth, but these are real people. Without a doubt, these are real people. Now, one of them that I want to talk about is specifically Floyd Cardoza. He was 59. He was a groundbreaking chef that paved the way for so many South Asians. Okay, he was influential in Indian-born chef, restaurateur, who's widely credited with introducing flavors of his homeland to New York's finest restaurant and dining scenes back in the 1990s. He won multiple James Beard Awards, and he won season 3 of Bravo's Top Chefs. Terrence McNally was 81. Very prolific, much honored playwright who rose to the forefront of American theater with a humane and lyrical style in works such as Love, Valor, Compassion, and Masterclass. McNally was a pivotal American dramatist, particularly as art and politics collided during the AIDS crisis back in the 1980s and 90s. Then there was Henry Grimes. He was 84. He was one of the most promising jazz and bass players of the 50s and 60s, and he worked with superstars appearing on more than 50 recordings. Then he disappeared for more than 30 years. Nobody knew what happened to him. He just sort of dropped off the thing. And only make a triumphant return to music back in 20,000. Okay, not all that long ago. Now, Susan Rokas was 73. She's a teacher for 55 years. 55 years. Her students spoke of her with lasting influence and the friends that she had and the loyalty of and love of Italian foods. And the colleagues spoke of her because of her colorful outfits and distinctive decor that, she had a thing for a leopard print chair that she had shaped into a stiletto that was in her classroom. Now, you know what happens when you've got that one teacher that makes an impression on you. And everybody's got that one teacher that they can remember. She was that one teacher for a lot of people. Okay. Then there's Reuben Burks. He was 86. The first African-American secretary and treasurer of the United Auto Workers. Okay. While working in a General Motors factory in Michigan, he joined a local union way back when, worked his way up to UAW's second highest spot in the union. He spent more than 60 years championing the work of women and people of color in the labor movement. Now, these are just a few of the names behind the numbers, and without a doubt, they're going to be missed. And they leave a gaping hole. Okay? There's a legacy behind these people. They've done interesting things with their lives. We should all be so lucky to leave a mark on the world when we leave. But what this means is that every one of these people, okay, we lose one every now and then. Now we're losing a bunch of them all at once. And our friends, relatives, and co-workers, okay, are going to miss these folks. The community is going to miss these folks. Now, the thought of the day is by the numbers. That was sort of strange. But what the hell am I talking about? By the numbers. Well, I want to talk about that for just a few minutes because I thought it was interesting and get a different perspective on things. Right now, the world population is roughly 7.8 billion people. 7.8 billion people in the world. The population here in the United States is 330 million, basically. So we make up roughly 4.25% of the entire world population. Okay, that's believable. Nothing obnoxious about that. Interesting fact, but what are you going to do with that? Well, the COVID cases worldwide are 3,825,000. The U.S. has 1,250,000 of those cases, or basically 32.8%. The total number of deaths from COVID worldwide are at 268,000. Okay. The total deaths, from COVID just in the U.S. are 75,000, or roughly 28%. So we make up 4.2%, 4.25% of the world population, yet we have 32.8% of all the cases and 28% of all the deaths. Now, it sort of makes you wonder, what's the rest of the world doing that we aren't? Okay, what are they doing differently? What are we doing differently? Something to think about, because the numbers just don't quite add up. Okay, we're doing something differently than the rest of the world. Otherwise, our numbers should be in proportion to the rest of the world, but they're not. Okay, so what's hot in the news today? Okay, the unemployment numbers, they came out today. 3.2 million people applied for unemployment last week, and those are just the ones that were lucky enough to actually make it through the system to get that far, to get counted. Okay, because a lot of people, they can't get that far. They really can't. The unemployment system has crumbled worse than the healthcare system in the United States right now. The healthcare system, at least they were making ventilators, and you got some news on it. Doctors are doing these things, nurses are doing these things. They're all stressed out, and they're trying to help people, and people are dying on their shifts, and they made the news. But the unemployment didn't quite make the same news. Okay? And nobody's pouring money in the unemployment system. A lot of states are actually making it difficult, to apply for unemployment. Okay? And right now, that brings the total number right now in the U.S. to 33.5 million cases. 33.5 million people have filed jobless claims in just the last 7 weeks. Now, the Department of Labor shows that the number of laid-off workers is now equal to 15.5% of the workforce. The unemployment rate is forecast to reach 16%. Well, it's not a big jump, 15.5 it is currently, to 16%. Okay. That's the highest rate since the Great Depression. Okay, and what does that really mean? It means that 21 million jobs were lost just last month. 21 million jobs lost last month. That means that nearly all the job growth in the last 11 years, 11 years worth of job growth from the Great Recession has vanished in just one single month. 1 month, 11 years of job growth just gone. Absolutely gone. Now, the majority of laid off and furloughed workers, roughly 77%, think that they're going to be rehired by their previous employer. And, that's nice. They think that, once the stay-at-home orders are lifted and the economy reopens it, 77% of people think they're going to get back to work at the same jobs. However, there's a lot of concern that these workers are way, way, way too optimistic about being rehired, given how much uncertainty remains about the healthcare and the business right now and the business conditions and what's happening in the upcoming year. Now, economists say that under the best chance of recovery is to get as many workers back to their previous jobs as possible. Okay, that means a whole lot less retraining, and they can just drop right in, and that's great. However, much of that depends on how the reopening goes. And that's not going well right now. You already saw what was happening in that, the number of cases has dropped down in New York and New Jersey, but across the country, hot pockets are just picking right up. The number of cases growing in other areas is really making big jumps. And the areas they're making jumps in are the areas where the governors are trying to reopen to some degree. Very few of these governors meet what the president himself said was the minimum requirement of 14 days with lower cases. Okay? That's not happening. Now, the economists warn that the longer people are out of work, okay, the less likely they are to get called back to the jobs that they're actually seeing in their other companies. Now, right now, you're already seeing this thing. In companies like GE and Nordstrom, they announced, they had furloughed employees. There's supposed to be temporary layoffs. And everybody thought that, well, furlough is a new word now instead of being laid off. Well, they were originally posted and, furloughed. It was going to be temporary. We'll bring you right back in. No big deal. Well, now Nordstrom and GE are making those temporary furloughs permanent layoffs. And when that happens, people also end up losing their health insurance. Now, a new report from the Friedman Institute in the University of Chicago predicts that 42% of layoffs from the pandemic will result in permanent job losses. Okay. And the two big things that are affecting that is that, one, the company's going to be going bankrupt or shutting down completely. So they're not going to need the workers, obviously. And the second thing is that even after parts of the economy reopen, many people can really be hesitant to shop and travel around and spend money the way they did before. So for many businesses, they'll be operating at half capacity. And you're already seeing that right now with the reopening. Some stores are being told 25% capacity, 30% capacity, 50% is really a big deal. And if you're in a restaurant, okay, you can't function like that. Most of the restaurants we once knew are going to end up going under. They needed full capacity before. The local bars, probably 90% of those local bars are going to get wiped out because you can't social distance in a bar. You can't walk up to the bar. Okay, the idea of the bar was you're pretty much shoulder to shoulder with somebody else. So as more and more businesses open, they end up switching to online and takeout. Okay, and they obviously don't need as many workers. Now, typically though, fewer than half of all the laid off workers ever end up returning to their previous job. That's just the way it is. Okay, and you've got years of history about this from every major job layoff. Okay, less than half of them end up going back to work at the same jobs that they actually had. This is one of the reasons, not the main reason, but one of the reasons that by the time you're hit age 50, you've already had a dozen different jobs. This is one of those reasons. As companies pick up and move, or you get laid off, you don't get rehired at the same job. And when you do get rehired someplace, it's generally for a lot less money than the job that you left. So, as those Plan A jobs disappear, as things happen, and things always happen, okay, and if you're not 30 anymore, when you're in your teens and 20s and 30s, you're still sort of happening. You're sort of hoping a lot. Okay, by the time you hit age 30, 35, 40, okay, it's sort of coming to you that bad things happen in the world. And chances are you're going to get the bad end of some of those bad things at some point in time. So what do you do when your Plan A job just picked up and left? You got furloughed. Well, right now, okay, now's a good time to think about what are you going to do for Plan B? If you don't have one in place right now, now's the time. What's your Plan B? Plan A just got wiped out. And not everybody can immediately go into a Plan B. They don't have the time or the resources, or they're just scared shitless to be able to do anything. Fear is a big thing. Fear freezes you in your tracks. It prevents you from moving ahead. So what are you going to do for your plan B? Something that you can put under your control. That no matter what happens in the market, in the marketplace, in the economy, your plan B is going to survive. Your plan B, for all intents and purposes, is going to be some type of business that you control. Give that some thought right now. It's a very important thing to be doing right now. It really is. Because things have happened. Things will continue to happen. Will this pandemic end at some point in time? Yeah, it will. Okay, I don't know when. Okay, right now there's no treatment. Okay, there's no vaccine. Okay, so if you get sick, you got problems. If you get put on a ventilator, your chance of recovery just dropped out a lot. But for the most part, most people are going to recover from this. Not only physically, health-wise, but financially. But are they going to be in the same place they were before they got started? That's the big question. And not everybody will be. Some people will do okay. If you have a little bit of cash reserve, you start doing some planning, you can figure out what your plan B is going to be. Some people, they're just not going to make it. Okay, financially, they're just not going to make it. Healthcare workers are going to be stressed out. You're going to see a lot of mental health issues. Okay. Moms at home with the kids are seriously stressed out. The school years have been canceled for the most part across the country. Colleges and universities are planning to open back up in some way, shape, or form in the fall. But what that's going to look like, I don't know. They're not even certain themselves. So in times of uncertainty especially, you need a plan B. What that plan B is, I don't know. I've helped other people put together plan Bs that have worked out for them. If I can help, it's fine. We can chat. But you need to work on a plan B, without a doubt in the world, because you're going to get through this thing. But financially, you might not come out as good as it is when you went in. The stock market is bouncing around 23, 24, 2,500 in that range, 24,000. But hey, the numbers haven't finished coming in yet. I don't expect them to be that good. Okay? And even if the market picks up, and I'm certain that's only temporary, okay, Main Street, where business is conducted, isn't doing that well. All that PPP money, dried up. Okay, the SBA loans, they were originally slated for $2 million. They capped them now at $150,000. Okay, trying to get more money out to smaller people, but the smaller people are having a hard time right now. Lowe's is doing great. Home Depot, those stores are doing fine. The retail chains that sell food are doing fine. The other retail chains that sell clothing, shoes, furniture, okay, they're not doing well. They weren't essential businesses. They're not open. When they do open, what are they going to do? They got inventory sitting on a shelf. Who feels confident enough to go out and buy it at this point in time? Who's going to feel confident enough saying, oh yeah, I can walk into that store and I know that they're going to take care of me? Well, they're not going to take care of you. Okay. You go out right now and about 3/4 of the people are wearing masks. That's great. However, they're not covering up their nose. Okay, am I missing something here? The idea of the mask is to cover your nose and your mouth. If you're not covering your nose much, the mask isn't doing much good for anybody else, is it? So, think about a plan B, because things happen in life. What are you going to do for you and your family for your plan B? Give that some thought. Okay. Right now, I'm going to post this video on my YouTube channel tomorrow, The Real Money Doctor. There's a link every day on that channel. It goes to a page that I have, and there's a present on that page every day. Generally something that is light and fun and take your mind off of things for a little while. So again, I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor. My only goal here is to help you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. So I appreciate you being with me tonight, and I look forward to spending a little bit more time with you tomorrow around 7 o'clock. Thank you.